I want to talk to you about Megaphone podcast host, and I want to do an in-depth review. I want to look at the pricing, the pros and cons, the functionalities, everything. So here's a summary that I want you to really pay attention to. So when you think about podcast hosting in general, this is a very evolving industry, and Megaphone actually markets itself as the world's leading podcast advertising and publishing platform. And the company was actually taken over in 2018 by Spotify, but right now they're still running as a separate business. And it's great that to understand that Megaphone is really interesting in terms of its ability to innovate all the time. And the platform actually is aimed at professional grade and big scale podcasters who already have, let's say, 20 to 30,000 plays per episode to their name. So if you're a small, let's say if you're a small podcaster, you're not going to find Megaphone interesting. But if you are a growing podcaster, this could be interesting for you. So if you are also an independent podcaster looking for a podcast hosting platform, Megaphone will not be for you. However, if you fit the eligibility criteria and are in the market for a new hosting service, you may just have found the perfect solution. So when you think about Megaphone, just want you to think about the fact that Megaphone actually it has a lot of functionalities that can appeal to a diverse range of podcast hosts. And so in terms of the Spotify takeover, by the way, the takeover was not in 2018. It was between 2018 and 2020 because they started the discussions in 2018, but the transaction closed in 2020 during COVID. Okay, so as of today, the company is owned by Spotify, but they're still run as an independent company. So the thing is that when you think about Megaphone, I want you to think about a hosting platform that is actually pitched at the high-level podcast publishers and networks, not an independent creators. And so its principal focus is really gearing content towards monetization via advertising. So Megaphone, it really acts as a conduit connecting advertisers with key audiences. That's really the key to remember here. And so what we love about Megaphone is that they have cutting edge of features. They're constantly adding features and functionality that enhance the podcast experience. And you have dynamic ad insertion with flexible ad points. So you are able to retain the final say over where ads will play in your content while still selling all your empty inventory and monetizing your back catalog. So Megaphone remains a podcast hosting platform. And it's also the pricing. If you want to know more about the pricing, you got to contact Megaphone. They do not publish this on their website. I'll speak more about Megaphone later on. But one thing I need to say here is that Megaphone is great, but if you already have the minimum sort of download number, like 20,000 to 30,000. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. Let me talk to you about some smart moves here. So if you are considering a Megaphone podcast host, you need to understand that choosing a podcast hosting platform is not easy, right? And so whether you go with the Megaphone or you go with a competitor, there are certain things you need to pay attention to. So, and when you're not, if you are a big network or prolific publisher, it's even an even bigger decision. In other words, choosing the right podcast hosting platform. So there are several key factors you need to really pay attention to as you're trying to decide whether or not Megaphone podcast host is best for you, or you should go with another provider. Now, first of all, pricing. Pricing is really important. So we're looking at pricing in terms of pricing is not just about money though, how much they're charging every single month. You got to look at the value they deliver, right? It's all about value for money. So it's critical that the platform that you choose offer high-powered features that deliver key outcomes and functionality without breaking the bank. You got to look at analytics. So, it's when it comes to growing your podcasting business, actionable and in-depth analytics are sort of key, especially when it comes to granularity. So you want the analytics to be granular so that you can actually you can dissect the data and see exactly what's really happening, what's working, and what's not working. And so also the media player. So an embeddable media player is also important. Is also important in terms of choosing a podcast host in general. You got to think about file hosting, especially if you have a large team. If you have a team that really sort of backs you up, and that team needs to host your files and really share your files, you want to be able to have a host that allows all that to happen. And again, we're talking about the hosting, but not compromising on audio quality. You got to also pay attention to distribution. So distributing your podcast should be effortless. So if a hosting platform, whether it is Megaphone or another rival, does its job, you shouldn't even have to think about it. So you want to look at you want to make sure that you are able to publish and how straightforward the whole publishing process is. Ideally, distribution should be taken care of through the platform as well. And also, you want to pay attention to monetization. Megaphone, thank God, allows you to monetize your content. But if you were to go with another software provider, you want to look at the ability to monetize all aspects of your content from a single platform. This is important, as well as managing your income streams. That's important for you to actually scale your business and make it consistent. So when you're looking at the podcast hosting platform, you want to look at the revenue opportunities that it opens to you. Okay, whether it is Megaphone or Arrival, how easy it is to manage your podcast monetization and any relevant eligibility criteria. And also, last but not the least, you want to look at usability and additional features also to see what will happen. Like, let's say, when you are ready to scale. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Megaphone podcast host. This is actually a review of the service. Let's talk about the cost here. So as you can see on the screen here, when it comes to a Megaphone, they're charging you, if you are a professional, they're charging you about $100 per month. So with that, you have all kinds of functionalities at your disposal. And if you are an enterprise level publisher, then you have to contact Megaphone for them to actually give you a price. Okay. So when we talk about how much does Megaphone cost, it's it really depends upon the service that you want. On their website, they actually advertise an enterprise plan aimed at publish. As you can see, the enterprise plan is aimed at publishers and networks with large teams and multiple shows averaging more than 20,000 downloads per episode. So that plan really includes support. You have publishing and distribution. You have a reporting dashboard and tools. You have unlimited users and podcasts. Okay. And in terms of the audience growth, you have cross promo marketplace, promo insertion, embeddable player, episode importing. For monetization, you have campaign creation, dynamic ad insertion, geo targeting. You have targeting, back catalog, mobile device targeting. I'm still talking to you about the enterprise the enterprise plan though. You have for advanced publishing and analytics, you have API access, metrics expert service, clone and add free fees. You have pod track support. This is really important. You have custom metadata. And this is kind of important. And when it comes to the professional support, you have some of the enterprise support, but most importantly, you have the analytics and metrics. So here you have actionable insights into audience engagements and listening habits, which you need anyway if you want to scale your podcast down the road. You are able to track downloads and add delivery by country, region, state, city, and app. Metrics export services to actually help you power your own BI solution. This is important in the long run. And publishing APIs that integrate with your internal tool set. And you want to have that as well. And in terms of ad operations, whether you go with the professional or the enterprise, you have demographic and intent-based targeting. You have inventory forecasting. You have ad copy management. You have third-party tracking URLs. You have ad agency management. You have competitive separation. You have advertising tags, you have frequency capping and pacing. You also have billing reconciliation. Let's talk about the pros and cons of Megaphone podcast host. So basically, let's first start with the advantages. So you have easy distribution. You have a tool that's very easy to use. That's another tool. We love that aspect of things. You have cutting edge monetization. You have analytics for deep insights. You have a tool that supports actually scaling up. You have an embeddable player. You have customer support. You have news service, and you have collaborative workspace with team members. Let's talk about that. I want to go a little deeper here. So when we talk about easy distribution, Megaphone makes it quick and easy to publish your content on all mainstream podcast apps. One less thing to worry about in your creation flow. It's very easy to use. So the tool is designed with a slick interface that prioritizes the user experience. So they have a streamlined content management system, the CMS, that works very well with intuitive publishing workflows that help you keep everything in sync and under control. You have cutting edge monetization. So Megaphone's high power monetization features allow you to monetize your content and back catalog with dynamic ad insertion and targeting. So if you have a back catalog and you're trying to really monetize it, Megaphone is really one of the best places to be, if you will. You have analytics for deep insights, so you can gain deep and actionable insights into how your podcast is performing. They can actively inform your strategic decision making, so that way you know where revenue is coming from, and you have a tool that supports scaling up. So it's really, if you are an ambitious podcaster and you are operating as a business, you are able to avail yourself of Megaphone's tools and functionalities to grow even faster. You have an embeddable player. So Megaphone provides its users with an embeddable media player for use in sharing on social medias and other websites. You can choose between a single episode and playlist players, customize it to be vertical or horizontal, add a subscribe button, and even push listeners to Apple or Google apps, depending on their device. Okay, and you have customer support. Fantastic. So what about the drawbacks here? The thing is that right now, Megaphone, as you saw, is not open to all creators. Okay, it's still currently a highly exclusive platform. So in order to sign up, you need to get in touch with the service via email, and they are explicitly open about the application from large networks and publishers that already have established multiple shows and more than 20,000 per episodes. Okay, 20,000 downloads per episode. And you have one-track monetization. So Megaphone currently only allows users to monetize via the Spotify audience network. So this is fantastic if you're only looking to create revenue via advertising. However, if you're looking to open up diverse revenue streams via podcast subscriptions as well, for example, you will have to do this using additional software. And Megaphone does not support lossless file formats. So there are no video podcasts. And you also have lack of transparency. So, given that Megaphone is currently only available via inquiry and has fairly inaccessible eligibility requirements, the platform and its features are quite elusive in our view. So for creators who like to try before they buy, this might be a reason to look elsewhere. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Megaphone podcast host. Let's talk about the features that you really want to pay attention to in Megaphone. So you have Ad Locator, you have Streamline Ad Management. And so when we talk about Ad Locator, let's first talk about that. So Ad Locator really means that Megaphone is giving its creators precise control over when, where, and in what order ads and promos appear in their content. So since no episode is exactly the same, Megaphone has a flexible insertion point set up wherein podcasters are able to choose exactly at which timestamp an ad would play. This is kind of cool because in terms of revenue strategy, you want to really pay attention to that ad insertion point. So you can add up to 15 ad points via the ad locator in your Megaphone dashboard, and you can also bulk edit expected ad locations in your draft content to make it easier for producers when they come to mark the correct number of insertion points. So you also have streamlined ad management. So keeping track of all your ad campaigns, sales performance, and invoices can be a headache. So Megaphone streamlines the entire process using sleekly designed visualized inventory tracks that give you a broad and digestible overview of everything you need to know. So in your dashboard, for instance, you have access to real-time available slots in your content for host read ads or impression-based sales, as well as the ability to carry out bulk inputs for streamlined order entries instead of manual inputting. So this is kind of cool in terms of efficiency in the long run. So you are able to manage everything from a single dashboard. This is just fantastic, okay? Especially if you are a large producer already, you're a large publisher already, you want to enjoy that streamlined ad management process. So overall, Megaphone, I think I have established this before. So Megaphone is really best for prolific publishers and big networks, okay? They have a very clear target audience, and that is not independent or small podcasters. Megaphone's platform is really designed for big player networks and publishers. They have an established audience base and consistent output. And so Megaphone's unique power and focus lies in the advertising and monetization potential of its members, and Megaphone's ability to connect podcasters and align brains to create serious revenue opportunities should not be overlooked by podcasters interested in scaling and growing their businesses, okay? And so this is kind of cool. And so Megaphone is pretty straightforward in their target audience, the kind of target audience they're looking for. Let me give you the specs you need to really pay attention to if you are considering a Megaphone. So how do you get started with Megaphone? If you are, let's say, on desktop. So you log into your Megaphone account, you are in your podcast library, click podcast on the left hand side on your screen. Click the purple create podcast. It's pretty straightforward. You need to fill out your podcast information, including the title, the subtitle, the summary, the type, the category, and more. You also need to add the tags. Click save, and to upload an episode, you want to navigate back to the podcast page and click on the relevant podcast. And you want to create the episodes and fill in the details. Same thing. And remember that Megaphone is only compatible with MP3 files. So uploading your recording is should be in MP3, and you have to upload your recording and cover image. And so how do you actually migrate your podcast to Megaphone? Well, Megaphone has actually, if you go to their websites, they have dedicated articles that walk you through how to migrate and redirect from other major hosting platforms, including Podomatic, for instance. You have Anchor, Spreaker, Simplecast, and more. So there are two stages to migrating your podcast: importing your existing content and redirecting your RSS feed. So in your dashboard, everything happens in your dashboard. Just go to the podcast tab on the left, click import, and you start the process there. So you are able to distribute your podcast using Megaphone, not a problem, okay? And the process again is pretty straightforward in once you log into your account. And so you also are able to monetize your podcast using Megaphone. So you can you need to opt in to the Spotify audience network, and you also need to have dynamic ad insertion. And finally, when we talk about Megaphone podcast analytics, this is a really this is really great for its granularity. And so from your dashboard, you want to head to the reporting dashboard, and you'll find sections about podcast performance, episode performance, and geolocation performance. So you have a clear idea what's really happening from each category. Let me give you the final say here. So when we think about Megaphone podcast host, what is the final say? First of all, it's important to understand that Megaphone is really great in terms of quality, in terms of quantity also. But the thing is that the platform is pitching itself at the cutting edge of the podcasting industry, and with Spotify behind it, its trajectory is definitely promising. That's for sure. But Megaphone is really focused on large publishers, large consistent publishers. Okay, so the question is it worth it? Yes, of course it is worth it. It is legit. Yes, it is legit. It is backed by Spotify. Okay, and is it really the best for you? It really depends. It depends on your current publishing capacity, your current followers, your current download capacity on a monthly basis. Because remember, you got to have minimum 20,000 downloads every month to qualify for Megaphone. So if you meet those preliminary criteria, yes, it is really worth it, given the capabilities and functionalities that Megaphone is bringing to the table. And remember that the entire platform is designed to cater for podcasting powerhouses with serious horsepower. Okay, and the Spotify Audience Network is one of Megaphone's biggest selling points, helping podcasts with a big audience base capitalize on their value. As it seems that Megaphone is only just getting started, we anticipate even more innovative features as the platform grows. So right now, Megaphone is owned by Spotify, and so if you go with Megaphone, just remember that you will be working within Spotify's ecosystem. It's a great ecosystem, but some people don't like it. So if you're one of those people, maybe it's better to look elsewhere. But if you love Spotify and everything that revolves around Spotify, you will enjoy Megaphone. Okay, it is actually a podcast hosting service that has an integrated advertising service that connects brands with podcast creators, networks, and publishers. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about Megaphone. So this was a Megaphone podcast host review. So let's do a quick recap here. So I give you the summary, the smart moves, the cost, the pros and cons, the features, the specs, and the final say. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.